Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. On today's class, we'll be drafting a waist snatch corset with deep illusion neckline. So this type of corset is focused at the waist part, the fleshy part of your waist, in order to snatch in your waist to give you that hourglass look, and mostly in inbuilt corsets. So stick to the end of the video to get the full details. So I marked out my vertical measurement, which is my shoulder to chest line. To get that, you do your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. After that, I marked my shoulder to bust. Then I marked my shoulder to under bust. Then my shoulder to waist. If you can see, the waistline at the front and at the back is not the same. I did that because we are going to be making use of a bust dart, and the bust that we are making use of is 2 inches. So from there, I got my waist, my top length for the front and the top length for the back. So it's not the same measurement. The length I used here is 24 and here is 22. So the reason for this 24 is because of that bust dart. The difference is 2 inches difference. So by the time I plot my bust dart and after every other drafting, it will be equal to, the front will be equal to the back. So the next thing I'll do is to indicate my center front and my center back. So I'm going to use my marker and I'll mark my center front and I'm going to mark my center back. After that, I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder. So the shoulder I'm working with is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So if you're going to attach sleeve to the dress, you're going to be adding half for the sleeve. So I'm just going to mark my shoulder. At my chest line, I'm also going to mark my shoulder measurement, which is 7, and I'm going to draw a line to extend it to the upper part. I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder slant and also connect it with my ruler. So after, I'm just going to go ahead and mark my neck width and depth. So for the front, I'm using 3 by 3, which is the standard neckline. So I'm just going to place my curve and I'm going to connect to marking my body circumference. So the bust I'm working with divided by 4, I have 8.3. So the reason why I'm doing this is that I want to mark my armhole so that it will not exceed my chest, my bust line. So I'm going to mark it at that 8.3. So at my underbust, the underbust I'm working with is 28 divided by 4, I have 7. So I'm going to be marking 2 inches that intake, which we are going to be doing. So that leaves me here. At my waistline, the waistline I'm working with is 7, plus that 2 inches, that leaves me here too. So at the hip I'm working with is hip 40 divided by 4, I have 10. I'm going to mark. Then I'm going to be adding ½ inch in case of the darts. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and connect. So the shape for now does not matter because by the time I take in my darts, it's going to take shape. Then I'll go ahead, place my tape and find the middle of my armhole. So from the middle, I'm going to go in by half. So from that half I went in, I'm going to connect it to the upper part and then connect it back to my chest line. Next, I'm going to place my tape and mark my bust span, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I have 3.5, so I'm going to mark 3.5 at my bust line. Then after marking it at my bust line, I'm going to go ahead and mark it at my under bust. After marking it at my under bust, I'm going to mark it at my waistline, and I'm also going to extend it to the top length. Then I'm going to use a rule and connect it, drawing a straight line. After doing that, I'll go ahead and mark where I want my illusion to start, or where I want my cup to start. So I'm going to make use of 6. So you can make use of 7 or any other number depending on how deep you want yours to be. So I'll place my rule and mark my tape and mark that 6 inches, and then connect it, forming a straight line. Then I'll go ahead and place my tape at the shoulder. So I'm going to measure what I have remaining at that point, and I'm going to share it into 2. So I have 4.2, so sharing it into 2 gives me 2.1. I'm just going to mark it and then connect it back to my bust point. Then I'll go ahead and mark my dart intake. So at my under bust, remember we added 2 inches for dart intake. So I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides, making it 2 inches. Then go over to my waistline, and I'm also going to mark 1 inch on the other side and 1 inch on the other side. So after marking it, I'm just going to place my rule, connect it, and draw a straight line. After drawing the straight line, I'm going to slant it down to my top length. So I'll do it for both sides. After doing that, I'm going to place my French curve, and I'm going to connect from my bust point to my under bust. So I'm going to do that for both sides, and I'm going to draw my cup. So for the upper part of the chest line, I'm going to be doing a bust tightening. So you can use 1.5, which is 0.75 on both sides. So but the bust I'm working with is a bit small, so I like to take 1 inch on both sides. After that, I'm going to use my rule and connect it back to that 1 inch that I drew on both sides. As you can see, the cup is taking shape. So this pattern is actually in 2 parts: the illusion part and the waist snatching part. So we're going to finish with the cup side before we start for the snatching of waist. So from that point, I'm going to measure 3.5 and I will mark. So how I got the 3.5 is the distance between your bust point and the distance to your under bust plus half. And also you can also go to your chest line or your bust line and measure 1.5 from inside and draw your cup if you want your cup to be tighter or smaller. So but we are just going to do it the normal or regular way. So from the chest line, I'm going to go down by half. From that half, I'm going to connect it to my cup. So I'll first draw a rough sketch and then draw it and connect it to my under bust. Then I'll go ahead and use my marker and draw it out so that it will be very visible. And then extend that ½ inch I came down with outwards. So there will be serving as your new armhole. The reason why I did this, in case your armhole becomes too small and for it to accommodate your armhole properly. So I will go down by ½ inch at my under bust. So you can also go down by 1. If you notice the picture I posted, the neckline started below the under bust. So I'll mark ½ inch. From that ½ inch, I'm going to be connecting it to the upper part. So first, I'm just going to draw a rough sketch to check the shape I have, if it's good. Then I'm going to outline it after that with my marker. So at the under bust point, I'm going to place my tape and I'm going to mark 1.25 on that line. So from that 1.25 mark I marked, I'm going to connect it back to my under bust, forming my cup. So I'm just going to draw it and use my marker and outline it back. So I'll go ahead and outline all my marks so that it will be very visible at this point. So I'll go ahead and mark my bust dart. So after doing that, you notice that my 2 ways to align. So from my bust, I'm going to mark 2 inches. Then from that 2 inches, I'm going to connect it back to the center of my bust point. By the time you blend in your bust dart, this is what you might be having. So while blending in your bust dart, you're going to notice that your cup is not blending. So what you're going to do is to take your pencil or marker and blend it. Blend the upper side of the cup to meet the lower side of the cup, so that by the time you eliminate your bust dart is going to match. You're also going to notice that the line from the bust and the under bust is not matching. You're also going to blend that too. I'm going to be extending it, as you can see, because by the time you blend in your dart, this is what you'll be having. So I told you by the time you're done, all the parts will blend. So I'll go back and open it. So I will outline this later. So this is this for now. So after doing that, the next part we are working on is the waist snitching part. So let me outline this bust dart because it's no longer showing. The waist. So depending on the waist you want to snatch, how many you want to snatch from your waist. So I want to snatch 4 inches. So our actual waist is 28. It's 28. I want to snatch 4 inches away from it. So you're going to be having 24 inches. So after that 24 inches, what you're going to do is 28 inches divided by 4, you have 7. Then 28 inches divided by 4, you have 7. 24 inches divided by 4. So 24 inches divided by 4, you have 6. So what you now do is, this 7 you got here, you minus it from this. Is 7 minus 6, you have 1. So we'll be snatching 1 inch at this side of this corset, and we'll be snatching 1 inch. You know this pattern is half left side, half right side. So us snatching 1 here, we remove 1 inch here and 1 inch at the other side. That's 2 inches. At the back, 1 inch front, 1 inch left side of the back and 1 inch right side of the back. That's 2 inches. So we are having 4 inches total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a style line. So depending on what you want to create, where you can create it here, you can create it this part. So I'm just going to create it on this part. Decide to make it not to be a straight line. So after drawing out this line, so where we are focusing most is at the waist. So at the waist, I'm going to, since we have 1 inch, so I'm going to be marking half on both sides. Okay. So from there, I will connect it to down, and I will connect this down. Then I'm going to stop it at my underbust. So after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and outline. Then I'll go ahead and number my pattern so as not to get confused along the line. At the down part, I'm just going to measure 2 inches up and mark. Then I'm going to create a little curve and connect it back to my top length. Afterwards, I'm going to outline all my front pattern. Add your allowance if you want. You can add the if you're going to do turn up for your corset, the allowance that you want and all that. So this is it for the front. I won't be cutting the front for now. After doing the back, I'll then go ahead and cut them together. So this is what I have. So if I place it, it's matching through. So I'll go then for the back. So there's nothing much happening at the back. So I've gone ahead to mark my neck, which is 3 by 1, and my armhole. I'll just extend my armhole to half. Go down by half because that's what we did for the front. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw my armhole. So after doing that, I've included my bust measurement. So I'm going to do my under bust measurement plus 2 inches that's intake. My waist, I'm going to do the same thing, divided by 4 plus that 2 inches that. My down, which is my hip, going to put my hip plus half, hip 40 divided by 4 plus half, the half 10 and half, and I'm just going to connect. So if you're not getting the same shape with mine, it's not wrong. Everybody has different body shape. So after doing that, what I'll do next is to insert to share this into 3 equal parts, my back into 3 equal parts. So I have 9, so I'm going to mark 3, 6 and 9. So I'm going to extend that line up, and I'm also going to extend it down. So after doing that, what I'm going to do is just insert my dart. So remember we added 2 inches for that intake. So I'll just go ahead and mark 1 inch here, and mark 1 inch here for that dart. You can also mark 1 inch also at your under bust because we added 2 inches dart intake, or you connect your darts directly, because we are still going to do a back tightening. Or get rid of that bulginess at the back, because the back is flat. So when we did the calculation for snatching of waist, we got 1 inch. So that 1 inch, I'm going to impute half at both sides, making it 1 inch. So you're only going to do this at your waist. Then you also connect your dart lines. New armhole is there, so I'm just going to extend this to this point. So from here, depending on the style you want to create for your back, if you want it to be straight, if you don't want it to be straight, so I'm just going to create a slight design. I'm just going to go in, use my marker and outline it. So I'll go ahead, place my ruler from my neck to the new armhole, or the new line I created. So this will be serving as my yoke. So I'm just going to outline my shoulder very well. So this part will also be going off after I'm done drafting, so I'm just going to mark it so that you won't get confused. Then connect my armhole back. I will connect all the marks and dart lines that I have made, so that it will be very visible. So at the back, I'm going to be getting rid of that puffiness at the back, and at the same time I'll be getting rid of the dart intake at the underboards that I didn't take out. So I'm going to mark half at my waistline, connect it to the down part, and connect it back to the upper part of my dress or pattern. I'll go ahead and outline it so that it will be visible. After outlining it, I'm just going to place my tape just like the front, and I'm going to mark 2 inches. So from that 2 inches, I'm just going to create a slight curve at the back. So I'll place my French curve. So it's better not to have too much curve at the back. Then I'll go ahead and number my pattern so as not to get confused, and also write the yoke at the yoke part. Then after doing this, I'll go ahead and cut my pattern. So when cutting your pattern, it's advisable for you to be careful so that you're not going to misplace each pattern for another side, especially at the bust dart area. So while you're cutting, you're also going to check whether it's going to blend. So what I have is blending. So I'm just going to check if it blends at that point. Then I'll continue the cutting. So I'm going to make sure that part is aligned very well before cutting, because I won't want to make any mistake. And also be careful while cutting the cup because of the bust darts, so that you won't get confused. So after cutting the cup, the part that has bust dart into two, you're just going to attach the cup together, use sellotape or whatever, and join it together so that it becomes one cup. And also be careful with this part, because at some point I got confused with my pattern. Don't forget to join back the part that has the bust dart and the lower part as one. So here we have it. This is the front pattern. I'll go ahead and cut the back pattern for this. So with this pattern, back pattern we are cutting, we have come to the end of this tutorial. Please, if you find this tutorial very interesting and helpful, please like and drop your comment at the comment section, and don't forget to turn on your notification button to get new updates from my channel. And please, if you haven't subscribed at this stage, please do so to subscribe. And thanks for watching till I come your way with another beautiful tutorial. Thank you.